Hi, I'm Mairi, and as you might guess, since I'm on a role-playing convention, I'm a role player, and I'm kind of a geek, nerd, whatever you prefer, for all things fantasy and science fiction and role-playing. And I am also a journalist and an author, and part of my job as a journalist was to do a documentation about traveling to China with a mobile home. But on the way to China, we also traveled through Russia. And it was my first time traveling through Russia. I had planned to go there before, but it never worked out. I actually learned Russian in school, but I'm not going to torture you with my bad pronunciation there. And so it was an adventure for me, and it was also very surprising. And thankfully, Natalia helped us to get a few addresses and a few names of people in Russia that we could meet, being part of the geek scene. That was pretty cool, because it's much different than in Germany. In Germany, the role-playing scene is kind of growing old and growing a little bit laid back. And it's also kind of, we're always criticizing things and stuff. And when I was in Russia and when I was talking to people of the geek scene, it was more like they're much more enthusiastic, and they're much more likely just to try something and to try and look if it works out, and they're just going at it much differently. Not this is not good, this is very German, this always criticizing, but there was no, they were just having fun, and really honestly having fun, and that was a great feeling, and it was much better than many of the people in the German scene, and also very, very friendly, very welcoming, and very hospitable. So those guys helped me getting through Russia. And also just feeling welcome very much. And I'm also asked to talk a little bit about German role-playing and about the Dark Eye, which is kind of the definition of German role-playing. The Dark Eye is... I'm nearly as old as the Dark Eye, or the other way around. We share the same birth year, so now you know how old I am. And so it's been around for a while, and people have playing it for quite some time. And it started out as a very trashy, to be honest, a very trashy, pulpy, generic fantasy setting. But since then, people have been working on it for 30 years, and that is the great thing about the Dark Eye. It's not the rules. They've been improved on, finally. And it is all those layers. The world is always constantly changing and evolving, and right now we have decades of history that have taken place in the Dark Eye that you could have played through, that you could read through, and there have been characters in this world that you could take part in their lives for decades, and now then at some point you finally see the destiny come true, or you see that they fail at the tasks that they set out. And that is the fascinating thing about the Dark Eye, that you have this living world that is always evolving and in which you are a part. And the depth is something I don't think you can find in any other role-playing game, just because right now I think on the main continent of the Dark Eye, Aventuria, almost everything has been discussed and has been described. That can be too much sometimes, but it also means that you're always settled in a really rich and colorful background, no matter where you play on the continent. And there's also a LARPing scene, live action role-playing, for the Dark Eye, and there it is really great that you can play with the same background. And if you see someone else wearing a special costume with, for instance, someone is wearing a green tabard and a unicorn, and you know he's a priest of a certain god, and you know how to treat that person, and that's different from the generic LARP systems that you have around, so that's also great. And I also had the luck to be writing for another continent, so they're different continents on the same world. Aventuria is only the one that is the main scene, and there's one that is more high fantasy and that has been influenced by different sources. It's more Moorcock than Tolkien, you could say, and I've been writing for that for several years now, and there's 2 solo adventures and 2 campaigns, one campaign and 2 books and a few tidbits, and that is a great setting if you just want to go big and to go epic. So The Dark Eye is not only deep, in Aventuria it's also broad. And in Germany it's like the role-playing game everyone starts out with. Everyone just had some Dark Eye stuff at home at some time in their role-playing career. And so for us it's tradition, kind of, and it's deep, and you know this world for so long. And I'm very interested how Aventuria and how the Dark Eye look like and how they feel like for someone who hasn't grown up with them like I have, starting out like as a kid, finding my first adventures and playing through them without knowing any of the rules. So do you even get this feeling of depth? Do you feel the history, the heroisticity of this world? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope that Natalia will tell me what people have said about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and yeah, bye.